Hello, hello, Edson Oliveira here. This is the monthly TADUG, the Toronto Area DNN User Group meeting. Actually, it's way beyond Toronto. It's really Canada-wide. It's really global. This is the July edition, and today is July 3rd. We are recording this at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time in a Wednesday. So, if you are watching this later, great. If you're watching this live, well, there's not too many people right now watching this live, I'll be honest, but that's okay. That's okay. Let me just get started here with the traditional agenda before we get to the main presenter. So, we're gonna go through a few acknowledgements, a few announcements, not too many announcements to be honest, a little bit of group time. If we don't have too many people, there's not much group time here, but that's okay. And then we have the main presentation. Sticky fingers. Minimize clients messing up your efforts. With who? The DNN Diva, Alessandra Davies.
Yes.
Then we have our meeting wrap-up. We close things up and we see what the future, is promising to us. But I'll leave that for later. A few acknowledgements. DNN for Less, thank you very much for the support of DNN for Less. They help us to pay for GoToMeeting. GoToMeeting is a bit expensive, so they're helping to pay for that. Easy DNN Solutions as well for providing some of the modules that we have been using on our main site. And for Andrew Hoffling from Hoffling Software. He helped us to put together the initial sites. Okay, great. So, news. What do we have in terms of news here? Let me see. So, I'm just going to bring up the browser here. In terms of DNN releases, nothing is going on right now. There's a promise of DNN 9.4 to come alive at any point, most likely a release candidate. It should be about to come, but the last release of DNN is DNN 9.3.2, which was released May 1st. So nothing too much in regards to that. If you want to get more insights, more news, you should definitely check the DNN Digest put together by Clint Patterson. This one from June was the last one. Actually, this might have been the last digest that Clint puts together because Clint moved on from DNN Corp. He moved out of DNN Corp. So he's no longer there. I don't think that he will be putting together anymore the DNN Digest, but let's see. Let's see next month. Let's see. I'm not sure. But again, this is a good recap of what happened in the past month in the DNN community. If you are more inclined to go in a video style, you can check out the DNN monthly chats that I put together with Mike Smeltzer, Joe Craig, and my friend Scott Wilkinson. This was last month's DNN monthly chat. This was our last DNN monthly chat, but more on that towards the end of the conversation here. But anyway, you have June edition, which we recorded just about 4 days ago. So very fresh, very up to date with what's going on in the DNN space, the DNN ecosystem. Okay, so carrying on with the news here, we have, just about a month ago actually, we had DNN Connect, which was a great success. And as we are always in an event mode, we are community driven by events. There's always the next one and the next one. So the next one, which will be DNN Summit in Orlando, 2020, February 24th to 26th of 2020, sunny Orlando, Florida. So there's already the announcement. There's already the announcement of the keynote speaker. There's a call to action here if you want to sponsor or if you want to register as a speaker. So again, great one. Just wanted to briefly mention that, but you can see more information, hear more information, read more information in digest in the monthly chat. Let me keep going here. So the last thing that I want to mention is about the new members. So we have one new member, Albert Prince. He joined us just a few days ago, and he is from, let's see, I think that he's from New York, Ontario, so he's close by. So again, increasing the numbers of our Canadian DNN group. So welcome, Albert. He's not online, but if you are catching this up later on, Albert, I hope you do. So welcome to the group. If I have a look at the list of attendees, again, this is, to be quite honest, I have to bring this back to me. I have done such a poor job announcing this monthly event that we don't get too many people online. I mean, my fault, but that's okay, because most likely you are watching this afterwards, and this is still, actually this is way more valuable afterwards, I think, than right here. But anyway, just to mention that Steve, very good to have you around. We have Steve Karpik. How are you, Steve?
I'm doing okay, thank you.
Awesome, very good to have you here. And we just got a new visitor as well.
Yay!
Gifford Watkins from Nova Scotia. Gifford, thanks for being here. How are you?
Hey, what's up, man?
So good to have you here, no?
What's that now?
So good to have you around.
Oh, thanks. It's good to be around.
In my little recap, I don't know if you saw that or not, but I'll point you to that later. I did a bit of a recap of the last few years of this news thing, and one of the segments I've selected that was a bit of a talk from you, so I'll send you a note offline pointing exact to that point. Again, you might like that.
Yeah, I think I watched that. It was a nice recap.
Okay.
A lot of memories.
Good. Okay. It's time to make some new ones. Okay, so new members here. Yeah, so this is it. I mean, I mentioned new members. I mentioned the members that are here online with us. Some people will come afterwards, and that's fine. That's okay. But as usual, you are not here to keep listening to me babbling, rambling, going all over the place. You are here to listen to Sticky Fingers Alessandra Davies. Let me try to honor her intro here. Let's see if I can honor that. So, main presentation. She's gonna talk a little bit about herself. She's gonna be talking about structured content, sticky fingers prevention, how you can minimize your clients, to touching your code there, breaking your site. I'm sure that whoever works with CMSs and DNN is no different. I'm sure that you had the experience of giving a beautiful website to a client just to come a month, 2 months later, and you no longer want to say that you were the one that built that site. because
frequently.
Because the site is just a mess, and you want to actually take your company's name out of the, created by, because it's become just, this 1995 kind of website, GeoCities kind of thing, Just imagine that. But anyway, that's the topic of today. Alessandra will be, I guess, providing her approach on how to minimize that. But let me give a bit of an intro about her. Let's see. Alessandra Davies has a Bachelor of Arts in Graphic Design through Fine Arts School of Federal University of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. She started working with DNN in 2007 when she lived in England and then US. Front-end themes and content design and development are her strengths. Alessandra recently provided comprehensive training to the city of Las Vegas IT team that included DNN theming and Evoke administration with emphasis on liquid content. DNN Diva, CSS Queen, and other self-proclaimed titles to envy any dragon queen out there are well deserved. Whoa, what an intro. Alessandra, welcome.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Every time I read that, I kind of laugh. There's actually more stuff we should have now there because I did one of the training sections on the last DNN Summit.
Yeah.
It was me together with Tracy because he presents very well and I know everything. So he's the trophy presenter. I like saying that. But he knows, but I know better. So no. So I always go like, okay, there you go. I'll help you do this.
Awesome. And you have
and
also...
we were already invited to the 2020 as well to do another training session there. So it was nice.
I'm sure about that. Okay, so I'm gonna give you presenter access so you can share your screen. So 1 second. Presenter, yes. And you should have control.
Okie dokie. All right. Okay, so I did a little list of stuff that I'm gonna try to remember to say here. So first I'm gonna start like a little bit about DNN Diva. That's me and how this moniker came about. As you said, I did graphic design.
Alessandra,
yes.
Just to let you know, your screen is showing
ourselves again. Okay, let me just show something else then.
No, I just want to alert you just in case you want to show something else. You know, as long as you know what you're showing.
No, it's fine. No, I knew I was showing that,
okay.
But let's show this first because I'm going to kind of show how to do some of these later. So my first DNN event that I attended to was in 2013. It was the DNN Colin in Palm Beach. And in there, when we were sponsors, like a minor sponsors on the thing with T-Works, Tracy Wittenkeller. So that was actually, I was already working with him for about 2 years. And it was the first time that we met in person. He's picking me up in the airport and I'm like, are you? Okay, let's go to the convention now. So it was really fun to participate and know people and seeing a lot of what I call avatars out there go like, oh my God, I remember his face and things like that. So I got to meet David Poindexter from Innovative, I think is the name, right?
Native.
Yeah, and there was some ladies, of course, way more guys than girls in the field. And he was saying something like, oh, you girls should open start a meeting, like, a meetup for DNN Divas. And I'm like, okay. Then I just shamelessly, I put way too many syllables in that word. Without shame, let's say it like that. Without shame, I just said, I'm going to be the DNN Diva. And I just stole the name for myself. So that's pretty much what I did.
Do you have the domain?
No, but I was intending to buy, and somebody sees this and buy it, you will die. There you go.
We're gonna talk offline, okay?
Okay then. But the last time I checked, it was still free. So I've actually been thinking about getting it for me. That's no doubt of it. So that and, my big strength and what I really like and is pretty much what I work with the team is pretty much going to be always HTML and CSS. And I really like CSS. Therefore, I'm the CSS queen as well, because I said so. And sometimes I try to be the Duchess of jQuery, but I'm not that good on jQuery yet. I kind of like medium. I get my way doing stuff. what I don't know, I'm a very religious person. I pray to Saint Google every day, and they always answer my questions. So that's good. God save Google. And you learn as you go. That's like little breaks here and there, and you just put together all the little small thing that you need to become a better professional and everything. You always have to keep learning. So that's pretty much about me and the moniker. Okay, next. It is. I want to talk about like why do I like structured content? It's pretty much the fact that you can have content on the site. There is no actual interaction of the layman user with the code itself. So you're going to have the title, you're going to have the little content, you're going to have the image, but nobody is going to eat up a quote and forget to close a tag or accidentally delete a class. And it kind of safeguards your code and keep it tidy and as simple as possible. So it's easier for them. And it's nice for you because you don't see your baby become the ugliest baby on the playground. And you just want to take off your name like, I didn't create this, for crying out loud. It's just looking horrible now.
That's a question, Alessandra.
Yes.
Sometimes, because I don't have too much experience providing clients with something like liquid content or other structured content, sometimes do clients they want to have access to the structure of those to mess around as well, and do they ask you that?
Sometimes they do. There is something that, because you have a lot of marketers out there, but there's always the IT guy that they're going to be like, oh, how is that I do a new template, a new visualizer template for this? And then I'll teach him how to do it. And I'll tell everybody else they cannot touch this. So, no, he can do it because if you know HTML, of course you can go in at it. There's no problem. But it's to avoid people that really just want to put text in, like they are dealing with a Word document. They don't have to worry how I'm going to do to make this picture be this one here if I don't put the actual HTML structure there. But we usually do have, like we teach the basics, and then somebody goes like, how do I go about creating a new one? Then I usually show them, like, this is how you do. We create a new stuff, a new visualizer, and those are the tokens that you're gonna be able to create. This token will call the image. This token is gonna call the title. This token is gonna call the color, and so on and so forth, depending on what you put in every single content type definitions in the beginning. So it really, especially when you're in a bigger company, which is usually what the target audience that I have on T-Works and other things. You will have the general layman. I just want to change a title from this to that. And there's a person that will know a little bit more. And then that person can learn, like, how to do another template and such.
Awesome. Thank you.
It's actually quite simple, but sometimes I find that what I think it's simple, it's not for other people. And I'm like, oh, doesn't everybody know that? Oh, okay, I'm special, I think.
That's the reason you are the diva. I mean, yes, there are things that we know, but again, we are the experts,
Yeah, I actually want to start working closely with some like developers and that they would do what they call under the hood stuff. They would create modules and this and that and whatever. And that they come to me is almost like, dude, you are a plastic surgeon and you're fixing noses, but you want me to help you with the makeup? This is how I feel sometimes, But then I realized after so many experiences that they know the coding, but they don't know how to prettify it. Like sometimes even like a structure, like what is the best way of creating the structure so it can be styled later. So even for modules and everything, sometimes I create like just a mock-up HTML of what it should be like, and then they work using that template to add all the little, module stuff on it that I don't know about. So I was quite surprised because that happened more than one time. And I'm thinking, maybe I have something that people don't know. And that's good. Okay, so am I talking too fast? I'm still good? Okay. So now we're going to talk about the reason why I like structured content. We just continue doing that. Is really, that's what brings us to the sticky fingers. What I lovely call sticky fingers is my sister once said that she gave this right to a neighbor of her that had kids. And then after she dropped them, she noticed that the back, the windows on the back seat are all filled with little marks of candy and sticky because that's what clients do. They don't know what they're doing. They're just like, oh, I think I'm going to put this in here and it's going to be fine. And no, Times is not the font you should be using here, sir. And this red is not your red. And this font, if you put it at this size, it will not become responsive when we make the site smaller. And there's some kind of, sometimes I have to give an explanation. If you do it like that, it will just work on this size. And I don't want to say that to your face, but it's just ugly right now. So that is why I don't like dealing with clients. Sometimes I'm too honest. I go like, yeah, it could be better, but So that's pretty much what I did. So it was like, I always came out of a place that is like, how can I make it easier for the client to say like, oh, I want my title to be orange and in this font and be centralized and have a little line after it, like whatever the color. That's when I started using like helper classes. So I would have like a heading 1, heading 2 as a class, so they could use that anywhere and keep it tidier, and also not having to remember and not having inline styles entered in and everything. And I tend to do the little document. That was when I start dealing with the documentation, which is the paperwork of web design. It is so fun to do it, and it's so necessary because the developer knows, because they did it, so they will always know. Especially because every developer usually works in a certain way. So they're usually gonna use the same class names and the same, over and over. So I just gonna use the same class name and I just change what it's gonna look like. But of course, a client has no clue. So there we go again, having to go back and say like, okay, documentation. So I always try to do, as I create classes, I already start to create the documentation to go with it, or at least make notes to say like, oh, I have to tell them about this, and this class and how to use and everything. So that was my first sticky finger prevention technique that I used back in the day when I was still in England and everything. And even before I worked with the DNN, I already liked doing that to help. So after I started working with DNN, it was, I was lovely. Actually, really got on with DNN quite easy in the beginning. I was like, yeah, that's cool. Like you can just have like this mini templates for the containers that you can switch around. And again, that will help the client not having to worry, how is the title going to look there? You're just going to have, this is the gray title, that's the orange title, and this is the center title with a line under it. They just have to pick the correct container and it will look nicely. So it's less that they can mess up with and break the site or anything like that. So what I started doing after that was start doing like little skin and theme containers and themes, because you cannot say skin anymore. And it really frustrates me because I do not like the term theme. It's like we're trying to be WordPress, but we aren't. But anyway, that's my pet peeve there. So what I start doing is little token hacks, on a sense of like on a container, you do have the icon of the container that you can set up. So I would use that value and I would do jQuery back in the day. I would use that for the background image, and that you have that when you have something that goes a full site, and especially when you start using a lot of parallax and stuff like that, because you can add all this code with classes behind it, and the client just have to go, okay, container, my image is that. And tada, the image is there. They don't have to worry about putting a wrapper div class with the class this and set up what the background is and blah, 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 blah. So I try to make it so it's more data entry than code entry as much as possible. For the same thing on the themes, I would have like a page name showing with the title of the page, or the name of the page or the title of the page, if they wanted the page to have a different name, for instance, that they just had like possibilities in here and they would want to have something else showing on the specific title bar. And then you start using the little, tokens that you have within DNN. And I wish they have a list of every single token existent, because they have some places that you can find some, but they never had all of them. So every time I want to use a new one, I have to scavenge the internet, trying to find it, or go to DNN groups and say, people, anybody already ever did this or not? Because I don't know if it's something that doesn't exist, or if it's something that I just didn't find yet. And, so those kind of thing, little changes, like you have the little background color, but the background color just works within the content bit of it. So it would have the color in one place, but the title would not be inside the content. So you can use that token to say like, oh, I want my wrapper class that you can have on the container that will never be touched by the user, to say like, oh, if somebody puts a color here, then make everything background of this one here that color. Facilitate the user as much as possible. And also give them options, because if they know they can change it, they are kind of quite happy, like, oh, I can make it red or green if I want to. Yes, and they get really happy that they can play around with that, instead of having everything that is kind of like, you can only have something with this title and this background, and that's it. Not many options after that. Okie dokie. Would you guys want to see any little hack like that, like on the code?
It's I'll leave it up to you. I mean, if you want to.
Okay,
to
actually,
show.
I was going to prepare something like this, but I completely forgot about it. So let's see, just if I have something here with this. No, but I was doing a client today, so just bear with me. This one here. I'll just show you this quick one. Okay. Like, for instance,
if you want to zoom in a little bit more.
Yes. And let me just wrap the. No. Oh, here. Word wrap. Okay, so we can see a little bit better. Is it good, or you want more?
I think it's I think it's good. Yeah.
Okay. One more. There you go. So what we have in here is pretty much what I did in here was this. Like, if there is a configuration file icon on the container exists, then add the container background and say that my style image, say that my style background image is X. So if they do not fill it out, nothing happens. If they do fill it out, the background shows. So this is what I call the little hacks. And this will cause, of course, this is pre-structured content. So that's kind of, sometimes I still need to do that, because you may want to have another module that is not a liquid content thing. It's going to be maybe a blog or a form or something that you want to have an image background for it. And you can do it with this. Took me a while to find out a way to say, I couldn't find, like, if your icon file is empty, and it didn't work. So I just like, bang my head on the window until like, yeah, this works, yay. So it doesn't look very pretty, but it works great. Any questions on this?
No, it makes sense. And
Okay.
as you said, there is no single place that you can find those little hacks, correct?
Yeah, like this one here, I did not find this. I just found a place, like I know what I wanted to do was like, if the field is filled out with something, then show it. But I was like, okay, I could have just put the style background, but then if we don't have a background, it would just show background with nothing on it, which I always find is a little bit weird. So I don't particularly like it. And I just find out that we were missing this. So let me just save this when nobody's looking. Okay, in the same way, another example that I have in here, just a second. I should have opened those already, I know. Oops, okay, here. That's a good one. It was a one that I did 300 years ago, but for carousel, okay? What I have in here was this. I had the owl, I used to love this slider back in the day. Nowadays, it's a little bit dated. Now I'm using one called Swiper that I really like. But anyway, when you have this, the old container, I could not put a generic call for it, because what if you had two of the same container on the same page? They would kind of fight each other. So then I found out, like, wait, I can have a module control ID here showing. And then I do the call just using this. So this is what I call the little hacks here and there. This is not really much of a hack of the CSS, but it's something that you can also do with the things that, like, with the tokens. I don't even know how to call that, the ASP tokens, which is very interesting. I've been working with this kind of thing, kind of like finding ways to work arounds to make things work. Let me just go back to where I was before. Here, okay. All right, let me go back. Okay, so this was the kind of hacks that I did, and I still do sometimes, because sometimes, as I say, you can have a module that you cannot use within a content item, and it's still a valid hack that I like calling, because then I feel like I can, I don't know, invade NASA or something, which I totally cannot, but I feel smart when I do this. Okay, so the first structure, blah, 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 let's try again. Structure content tool that I used was actually very much thanks for one of your sponsors, is Easy DNN Solutions. They have these DNN news. And one day I found out that you could have custom fields. And I'm like, oh, look at that. I can do stuff. So that's what I started doing. I started having like one for the background, one for a specific extra little thing that I wanted to add to the template that they have with the Easy DNN news. So that was my first taste of actual structure content, not little hacks or CSS styling. And I really liked to do that. It was kind of like, oh, let's try to find a way to do this and do that. And most of the time, I did make it work. So I was always very happy with that and everything. So that was almost like, for me, is almost like a pre-structured content. But I'll never forget you, Easy DNN News. I'll love you forever. My first love. Okay, and then a miracle happened. And structured content became a thing. I love it. Still remember the first time that I watched a demo from DNN Corp. I was like, was the first people that they called to say like, oh, what is on your thing that we're doing? So they were showing me and I was like, oh my God, this is great. I was hearing them and my brain was just buzzing. All I could think about was like the possibilities, what I can do with this. And it was, of course, a new template language for me. And I was like, okay, I have to find a way to do this.
Alessandra, let me ask you a question. So,
yes,
I mean, liquid content is way more recent than, for instance, too sexy content. And
I
even
know.
and even there's another tool that is a kind of a precursor of all those structured
Open
contents,
content.
which is no, not even open content, but it's actually Xmod Pro. Xmod Pro is so.
Yeah.
But again, let's forget about all those little ones. Have you haven't you come across too sexy content
I
before?
have not. I have to say, it's much like, usually what happened is I was working with DNN and then a client needed to do a specific thing. And then we start using that. That's what is DNN use. That's what I start having experience with it. I actually never really heard of too sexy content. Sorry, Daniel, until I heard about liquid content. And one of the reasons was because liquid content is great, but it's not community. It's just evoke, which is paid. Like Xmod, I never had an opportunity to play with it. I never had a client that used it. So I just didn't get around to it. But I would have liked to know a little bit about the sexy content. But at the time, I was kind of learning on liquid content. And I'm thinking, this already does that. Why do I need something else? Until there are some caveats that, caveats or caveats, I never know how to say that damn word. I think it's caveats. That is, liquid content is great, but sometimes to move from a dev to a production is a little bit complicated. There is some hacks that you have to do, like when you import an image using the image field, you have like, when you export to another site, you still have the image calling from the old site, which I find it like, why the hell this is not a relative link? I'll never understand, but it is what it is. So it doesn't have some little thing that should be fixable and, don't work this way, but usually you find a work around them. And also you do kind of depend on, the microservice that is the cloud. So sometimes we had cases of having clients that, I'm sorry, cannot have outside things working here. And we practically had to redo everything again because they couldn't have it on their environment. So there are some stuff that still need to be, they have to have like a self-contained version of it and everything. And that's when I start looking at the sexy content. First, Daniel did a big revamp of it. And then I get to see actually on a TADUG as well. From Atlanta, I think I'm the only user group that I am a member of is actually the Canadian one. Maybe I should move. But I saw his showing the new version of the to sexy content, and I'm like, huh. And I practically could get the experience that I got from liquid content and just say like, okay, what was the equivalent of this in here? And okay, well, I can use this one here. So I can practically pass from A to B now, the template wise, with a little bit of work and digging a little bit, because of course they're not ever going to be exactly the same because they are different languages. But I found it was really great. And I'm like, with the advantage at first is open source, like amazing that. Second is that you will work on community as well on evoc. And third is that there's a big community that actually does use this module, which means that you're gonna get a lot of help if you are stuck on something as well. And the last thing is it is self-contained. You don't have to connect to anything else. You can just have something even on a intranet that doesn't have access to the outer world. You can actually still use it. So there are advantages to it. And I'm actually starting to work around it a little bit. And it's one of the things that we want to put on the DNN Training Academy with the videos is Tracy just said like, oh, we have to do this. And I'm like, okay, I actually have to learn more so I can teach people about it. So like, I wish I have learned about too sexy content before I learned about liquid content.
Thank you. Yep.
But it's kind of like, it's not wasted knowledge. Knowledge is never wasted.
Yep.
But it's good to have options. And, you know, Evoc is also almost like, you know, getting better and better as well. And so is the sexy content. So in the end of the day, it's good to have options. Like you can use this, you can use that. Like, you know, somebody is a big company that is a little bit more supporting, you say, go with this. If somebody is going to be smaller, doesn't have that much of a budget, like, let's do that. And, you know, it's quite interesting. And we also have now the new live visualizer by Mandips, which I think is still in development. And I don't think that is going to be open source. You have to have it together with some other, the live blog or the live content. I don't quite remember what he said, but it was also quite interesting.
Live form, I think.
Yes, you're correct, live form. And again, man, the competition is great for the users, not so much for the developers that are doing them, but for the users, definitely they are. And sometimes you just pick one that you like and you just go with them. Like, you know, they all have advantages. Like Mandips has a customer service that's like, you know, close to none. They are great. And like, you know, Daniel Metal as well, sometimes he gets out of this way, considering this is an open source and he's not making a penny out of it. It's kind of like amazing too. It's like, my God, he will answer questions and he will like, you know, let's see, maybe doing this, doing that. And I also like the new stuff that he has that has you can do something that is for, let's say, Bootstrap 3, but it has, I forgot the name now, Poi or something like that. Yeah, Poi. That you can have like, oh, if it's Bootstrap 3, use this class. If it's Bootstrap 4, use that class. Which means that eventually when you have a Bootstrap 5, you can actually just add that to the templates as well. I haven't got to that stage yet. I'm still doing like, let's do on 3 or 4 and go from there. But like, you know, I think it's eventually something that you can make available for people. And it's nice to have, you know, a contribution that you can do for, even though it's like, if you contribute for something that contribute for the community, I'll be contributing to the community as well. If I release a template and give it to Daniel to put together there on his site, which is quite nice. So I think that's enough of the blah blah, and let's go with the show some stuff in here. Okay. So just go on the homepage here so everybody see my face again. I should have been on that page, I just realized now. And it's taking 300 hours to go there. Ta-da! Okay, what time is it? Am I going okay for time? Yeah, I'm good. All right, so the first thing that we have in here, this is actually the site that we used on the demo that we did for the DNN Summit, which is quite good. I have a lot of things already there. And so I'm like, I just use that. So it's pretty much like it's a comparison between like an HTML visualizer. That the difference that you have in here is, let me see, put it a bit bigger. Is that good?
Yeah, that's much better.
Yeah, okay. Because pretty much as I just did like a little what is going to be what. So this becomes this token and this becomes this token and etc. and this. But with the facility that I can come here and change Petunia to any other Angry Bird without having to go in and then selecting all of this and trying not to eat anything and not to close and sticky fingers. This way, the only thing that the user have to do is just come here. Sorry, here, manage content. I don't want Petunia now, I want Matilda. Apply, change. So it is that simple. Let's just publish the page here. So it's much simpler, especially if when it's like a client. Usually the clients have something that is very repeated content, I like calling it. So if they have to put 5 of those, one on the top of the other one, it's not reasonable that I have to ask him to go and do this every single time, when they can come here and say like this one, this one, this one, this one, and you have a list. You know, that's pretty much the facility, and the can touch this with your sticky fingers, and everybody's going to be happy because everything's always going to look nice. So what I have in here on this page is every single item on this page comes from one content type. That's not absolutely true. It comes from two, but one is the content type. The other one is a reference to that content type. I just go, I want this, 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 this guy. Let's put it like that. So 1.5, let's call it. So I'm just gonna show you quickly here what I did. So I'm gonna go to the content library, content type. I just create a new content type, just to a quick show and tell here. It's pretty much what you do is you click and drag. That's pretty much it. Come here and say name. Okay. A little tip for you, do not use name because this is something that you use elsewhere. So I just put name of user or whatever, you know, just don't use the word name because it kind of gets a little complicated when you do some sorting because they already have this. And then they use content and they use this one here, although it says content item name, they just call it name on the list. So that's the one tip of the day for you guys. So again, you go, okay, multi-line text. Okay, I want it to be a text editor. Fine. Okay, and you can then have validations. You can have settings. You can have a default value. Does it have localization or not? That's a new thing they added. That's quite good. And then you have multiple choice. That you can be a box, a radio button, drop down, and you pretty much just add choices here as you go. And like, you know, the checkbox here, and then you can have an horizontal, vertical. There are some options. You can actually even have an order as an option in here if you want, like you click order, and then you have a field that shows if you click order, this kind of thing. And so they have all these types of thing that you can put on, that you have date and time. And again, you can come here and play around with this, like, oh no, I want it to be here. Like, oh no, actually I want it to be the side of this one. You have a certain, you know, tidying to do that you can do. I personally don't ever go more than 2 fields because when you are on the actual dialogue for it, it just goes around to here and then everything gets too squished, but you can do it if you want. And then again, if you have the date time, you can have the date time or just the time or just the date. And the same thing again. And then I have the static text. This is you would use if you want to have, it's like, literally is like section, I don't know, description section, descript. I don't know how to write this section. There you go. Right. So this is something that you can use and it will show, and it's not something added, but it's more for organization purpose than anything else. So it's good. You can make it a paragraph or you can just keep it as a heading. You can choose like, oh, I just want it to be a heading 6, doesn't have to be big. And then you have those 2 ones. One is the assets, which is pretty much, you can either have images or documents. However, it had that caveat that I mentioned that I'm doing this on my dev. When I go to my live site, it will still say dnnsummit.theodore// the path to the image. For whatever reason, the last time I checked, it was still not fixed this. And you would have to come here and just pretty much reset every single image again, which is not good. So what I like doing it, I actually just have it as a single text field and I just upload it separately instead of uploading it through here.
Alessandra.
Yes.
Quick question. So the form that you're building there, once you start to enter information on this form, this is actually being stored outside of the website, correct? It's this microservice that stores that somewhere else, correct?
Yeah.
How reliable is that? I mean, have you heard of anything
that's very reliable? I have to say, I was worried at the beginning, thinking like, you know, well, I come from Brazil where the electricity sometimes goes out. And I go like, how is this going to work? but I don't even remember the last time there was an issue with that. They really have lots of servers, generators, and whatever, everything, and they answer quite fast with like when there's a problem or something like this kind of thing with the connection. And I don't remember last time there was a problem with this. I actually don't even remember if there ever was a problem with this. Probably there was, but it's actually amazingly steady
In performance-wise,
and reliable.
In performance-wise, you don't see any performance implication when you are using it.
I haven't seen, no. They do have like a local cache, I think they have. I don't know the exact, under the hood details for this. But they do have a cache, and I think that's why they usually do not have a problem. That was good, because exactly now that I said that, I remember on occasion there was a client who was not being able to edit for whatever reason, and we found out that what happened was they had an outage there. But before they had an outage, there's the cache of each site. So even if they are down, your site still works, like for the regular user. It may not work for editors, but you're still gonna see everything that you were seeing before, even if they are down.
Okay, thank you.
So that was a good thing, that by just talking to you, I just remember that occasion that happened there. And we actually just found out because of this, because the client said, like, I'm trying to save this, I'm getting this error message. And we're like, why is this? And then they told us, no, we do have a cache, of your thing. So it kind of saves a cache locally, I think. And they, just communicate every time there is a save in here or something like that. That's when it goes and saves there. So you cannot edit, but you can still visualize everything properly. So for the regular user that's using your site, it will make no difference, which is quite good. So, okay, so assets, and then the last one that we have is this reference object here, which I like, and I suffered till I found out the little what you can do and what you cannot do with this, which pretty much the reference object is, I want to refer another content type in this content type. So you have the options that you have in here. So you have character, you can use any of those to put in there. So just for a show here, I'm gonna put character because I know I have a bunch of those in there. And I can have a multi-reference or just a single reference. With single, you can only pick one, easy as that. Multi-reference, you can pick as much as you can, as you want, and it is available in there. So I'm just gonna leave it here on a single reference. So pretty much you have to name here. Sometimes I keep forgetting to do that. Why is it not saving? Oh, I forgot to put the name. Never mind me. Okay. So pretty much saving calls. So you already have your content type created here. So what you do next, you just come here to the first one. Create content. TADUG was the type that you created. And pretty much we have there. Alessandra. Date. I don't know. This date. Assets, upload. You can upload stuff. You can pick something from the stored location, from all the folders, recent uploads, or no, I want to go to my images, and I cannot see anything in here. Wait. Modified. Site root. I put everything in here. Anyway, so you put there somewhere. I don't know why I cannot see it. You should be able to see it. Or you can just upload any image, really, which is the good thing that you can sometimes not use if you are not working on your production side, because you have to set up everything again. Let me just pick up an image here. Okay, you just drop the image there. What? But there is a JPEG. What are you talking about? Huh? Okay, I'm stupid. What I did, let's go back and let's fix something here. Content type. That's one thing you have to fix before you enter anything. Because I did here assets. but I forgot to say it was image. I put it as document. That's why you didn't let me update that. Okay, so save and close. Click. Okay, do again. So name, blah, 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 date, assets, upload again, do the same thing. We have no problem now. We already have an image, a reference. This is the image. You can preview the image that you put in there. And then you can reference object one person because that's what I did see here, the section here. So when you have something that is very long, there's too many items on them, you may want to enter this for organization, really, other than anything else. So you can see like, background section, image section, or description or whatever. So pretty much you do whatever text is a very simple thing. You pretty much can have the bolds and, I personally think that this would be enough if they had just the basic text, center, right or left. I think it's very poor that they don't, because they have a stupid indent. Who uses indent more than they use align, text align? But anyway, you can always just go to the HTML and add your own classes there if you need it. And then you have the multiple choice. You can make it one choice if you have a radio button or whatever. And again, it's not letting me save here yet because I haven't entered a content name. That's the TADUG. So that's pretty much it. So after you have at least your first content, because you need to have a content to test a visualizer, that goes without saying. So you're just gonna create a quick visualizer here just to show. So this is gonna be the TADUG one. We have to see what is the thing that we are using here. Sometimes it doesn't show. You just have to type in here. And it just shows. Okay, so go to editor. So what they do in here at this point, they just give you all of the tokens that you create. One for the assets, one for the date, one for the multiple choice, text edit, the name of the user. Those three are the 4 ones that always come. And then this one here is the reference object, which is the character. So it's going to be again, the content, the designation of the character, the tagline of that character that I picked up and everything. Understood?
If you want just to zoom a little bit, but that's okay.
Okay,
that's okay.
let's just zoom a little bit more. Okay. So here, can you see?
Awesome. Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, it pretty much gives you the tokens of all the fields that you created, plus some other tokens. And they have some system tokens that they have in here too. So if you go control bar, they give you the list of what you can add, plus some other like URL to details. Of course, just use this if you're using the list and details mode, the current page URL, and so on and so forth. Like, you have the slug if you want to use something with like an ID, and it has to be a specific ID. Slug is the way to go because every single content item that you enter has its own slug and it's not ever repeated. If it's something with the same name, they're gonna slap a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the end. So you can also change it yourself, and as long as it doesn't have the same name as anything else, they will let you change it. So those are some extra ones that you can use as well. And you also have on the footer, you have some extra options in here, which is for basic pagination, next page, previous page, again, for when you use lists and you're using the multi-page thing. So you do have in here, you have the main body of the template, you have the header, whatever goes on the top, then the template repeats, and then the footer repeats. So you can do lists and everything like that, even without using the list mode, just the content and say, I want this item, that item, and that item. And they would just add in here. And again, in here, you can also have a pagination because you can want to have a pagination on the top and on the bottom. So those are the extra things that they have available in here. Okay, so the other thing that they have is the style that you can enter in here. If you use this, I strongly recommend use a specific ID. And one thing that I find a little bit upsetting is that you cannot use tokens on the other fields. And I find that extremely annoying, because why shouldn't you be able to? So if I want to come here and I want to use the slug, because I'm going to create an ID using this, I should be able to use this on the style or on the script. But last time I checked, you still couldn't do it. That's something that I whined about with them, saying like, why can't you do it? It's kind of like, looked like very necessary that you would be able to do that. So anyway, I'm just gonna save this one here, because then what I'm gonna show you now is a nicely filled out one that's pretty, which is exactly our character one. You can search in here. So I'm just gonna click on it, just show you what I put in here. Pretty much I have the character name. See it, avoid using just the word name. I have the anger level, because everything is based on Angry Birds in here. So I went that way. So profile image, the designation, the tagline for the character, the little description, the about, the slider image, that you don't actually have to fill everything. That's another thing. You can actually make a field be obligatory or not. So you know that you're pretty much just gonna need an image, a title, and a designation. You can make those obligatory fields. While the slider image, you just have to enter for the one that you know you're gonna use on the slider, okay? So again, we have here the location, the coloring, the species, the gender, and I put some traits in here. I tried to make all the fields added in here, so I could show how to use filters and everything, which is another amazing thing that you can do in here. So for here, with the content types, you can also just come here and put character, because they're just gonna show you the characters. So I'm just gonna come here and let's go on Stella. Okay, so pretty much her name, her anger level, her picture, designation, a tagline, the little description. She does not have a slider image. She's from Bird Island. She's pink. She's a female. She's a bird, bright color, and she has eyebrows. And that's what you do for every single character.
Quick question. You don't need to go into too many details, but I just want to check. You can create forms to collect information from users of the site as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a little bit separate, because they also have, let's just do a quick look in here, forms. That I'm gonna have to tell you, works pretty much
okay.
Like, I'm just gonna show you quickly here, this one here, edit. It works pretty much the same way, only they have slightly different fields. And then of course you have the configuration, and then you can have the here, that's what you want to know, is the data collection that you can connect to a evoke type and just say the name of this is gonna be like this field is that field. Do the pairing.
Got it. Yep, that's okay.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
that's also, it kind of works with it, but it's also a part as well. So let's just return to flag, cancel, and just go back here to our content library. Okay, so in here we just filled out everything, put the information that we wanted to do, and and on the top of that, you do have to have at least the name, okay? And you can also have tags. The tags in here, they work pretty much for organization purposes. Most admin organization, but you can also use for filtering if that's something that you will want to do. The thing is, tags, sometimes you can have a misspelled tag, and of course you have the one that's going to be the one that you already entered before. It will be there. So you want to have male, you're going to have pink or whatever other. Well, pink is already there. It's not going to show me. I don't know, red. Just because I said it. Anyway, don't have tag. So this is something that you can have. Again, you can use this, you can use this, you can use description. I tried to not use it so much, but you can. So we do have a description field in here. We could have that come from here, for instance. I prefer to leave everything like this is system, and the other one is just content. That's my personal preferences. And also, as you can see here, you do have languages. So you can add other languages. The site has other languages. You can come here and you just say, you know, atleta de parkour in Portuguese or something, because that's the only other language that's important in the world, right? So besides properties, you also have the SEO. So this is something that you can also use for that, because you can actually change the page title, you can change the page description, and you can have the keywords. And I don't know exactly how that works when you have more than one content item on the page that have this information. That is something that I never really did, but it's also something to do with the sharing of this, because you can have the image for the page as well. So it's like a sharing thing that I would use, you know, parsimonially. If it's a color, if you're on a detail page, for instance, perhaps yes, but not with other stuff, because I don't know how it will behave if you have lots of content visualizer on a page and then each one is giving different information. I don't know what the outcome is going to be for that. So those are the tabs that you have to fill. And again, the slug, I can have this, or I can, you know, or it's going to automatically create. If I create another character named Stella, it's going to be Stella-1 in here. It's because they don't let you have repeated slugs. That's why you can use it for the ID. Okay, so let's go back to content library. Okay, so we have a bunch of visualizers. That's like our students did on the DNN Summit. So let me go to the pretty ones that I did. Okay. Okay. At this point here, let's make it a little smaller. Do you guys have any preference for me to show any specific of those? I was going to show this one here because it was one of the shorter ones.
Go for it.
Pretty much, I'm separating the bird island from the piggy island and say, if it's piggy island, show me the piggy island image and show me everybody that is from piggy island. And if you're on bird island, show me everybody that's from bird island and show me the picture of the bird island with the text and everything. Okay, so I'm going to show this one here. Was the one that I thought was going to be better to show. I'm actually going to show it in here first because it's easier to see. Okay, so pretty much what you have is like I use Bootstrap 3 for this one. And sometimes you do have to, this was the bit that I had to learn a little bit about the language. You have to create assign your variables, because I don't want to do something in here, but I wanted to make it sort like character name. If you don't do this, it automatically sorts by date of creation. And I think it's a little bit annoying that there is not an easier way to say like, hey, I want to sort this like that. When you're using the list mode, they let you do it. But if you're using a reference, because for this, we are using the group characters. Sorry, I have to go back there and just quickly show the group types, which I didn't. We have the character group, again, which is just the character, and say you can choose how many characters you want, okay? So that's the second content type that I mentioned before. So when we have in here, content types, oops, sorry. I wanna do the content group. I have a couple of them, like a Very Angry Birds is the one that I use for the slider. For the all characters is pretty much I just came here and I added every single character. Come here and say this one and this one. Oh, I don't want Earl anymore. You can actually take it out. So let's just go get her back in, and that's what you do. And again, properties you can have if you want to have tags, and again the same thing. You can have the published, but this one is a very simple one. I just have one field, which is give me this group of characters. And because I'm using the reference object, I do have to have a way to sort them. So pretty much what I'm saying is like, okay, I'm creating, this is the name of the var that I created. I want the characters to be sorted by character name, which is the name of the field. So I just have the structure of Bootstrap 3 tab. I have the top bit in there. Pretty much I just went, everything is in there. This one is the first one is active, and the name is Bird Island. And I have the second one is gonna open the pigs one, and it's named Pig Island. So this is the top vid is pretty much just HTML, nothing really done in here. And in here, that's where we start doing a little bit what the content type does. So I'm coming here, I'm just say up to here, it still is just HTML. And that's here is where we start the liquid content stuff. Because the for is giving me a loop. I'm giving a loop of these, which is the characters, but sorted by character name. And I'm saying, oh, if this item's location contains Bird Island, then show it. So I'm gonna show the profile image, the image URL, which is a filter that you have for each of the items and everything. And I wanted to show the character name. And I also want to show like as an alt tag. And I also want to show is an H4, the character name. That's for the first step. For the second step is the same thing, only as saying that I want the location to contain Piggy Island. And that's it. It's the only difference between this one and that one. You could make this more complex and say like, hey, what are all the available Piggy locations that you have? Okay, and then do a little bit harder work in here that I thought of doing, but then I was like, for demonstration purposes, this will go. This will work. But you can definitely, if you have the inclination, the coding inclination, you can make this, instead of being 2 tabs, being just 1 tab, this one here again being a repetition, and just changing this and this to kind of match whatever you have within the characters. So that's what it does. So in here, what I did, again, I just said that this one here, oops, sorry, is Birds BG, because I wanted this to be in one side, and I wanted the big BG, the pig BG, the background to be on the other side. So I changed a little bit the classes in here. So this one's the image is on the right, and this one, the image is on the left. So when we are here on the visualizers and we find our collada tabs, so you enter the name, you say, I wanted the character group, and the editor, I'm just gonna paste that, what I created there. And again, if you need a little help in here, control space, it will look for it for you, which is quite good. Sometimes I delete something and I kind of have to start from scratch because what was the it doesn't give you all the, after the character is referred to the character, but it's not giving me the actual tokens for it. But usually it stays fine. There's no header and no footer in here, again. So it's just this that's gonna be repeated. So we could actually have duplicates that if that would be the case. So let me just put it a little bit bigger. Okay. So pretty much what you say, do you save? So I'm just gonna go here to our TADUG page to add our table there. So we're just gonna go here. I wanna put a module, and they put it on highlight here on the top, prime position. I want it to be a content item, is a character group, because that was what I created for. I have here my tabs. And what is the one that I want to show here? I want to show all characters. And that's what we have here. You have the Pig Island and you have the Bird Island. We can, for instance, come here and change again. You can change after you edit it. So like, you know what? That was not what I wanted to do. I wanted to use it's still going on. I wanted to use the collapse one. Okay. And again, the same content, you just do different thing. In here, I'm filtering by those check boxes on the bottom, by the traits. Are you angry? Are you young? Do you have a bright color? Do you have eyebrows? There's some that don't, just before you ask. See, he doesn't have eyebrows. So, and the same way you can come here and then manage the content and say, you know what, I just don't want to show this. I want to just show the very angry birds. Okay. So the angry characters, the young characters, the birds with the characters with bright colors, and the characters that have eyebrows. So with the same content, you just entered everything and you can actually make it look however you want it to look. So we just have the character and the character group. So I almost say it's not even two content types, it's a content type and a half, because one is just a reference to the other one. And then you can have bar charts. You know, depending on the list. When I did this, I actually entered here some, because I'm a little bit of a psycho. I did everything. I went like, what is this? This is a visualizer type list, content type this. What is what the thing, what the sorted by, and no paging. Again, in here, it was a multiple selection, content item, character, and I just chose these people. And there's pretty much the order they were entered. You have cards, pretty much this one here, an example of a paging. So you have two pages. The last pages had two. You have the card detail. Pretty much what I did in here is like, okay, so this one here is just one. This one is like a list. Again, on this one here, I'm just saying card detail, sort by name ascending, filter by tag white. Just showed me the birds that are white. Okay, a card grid. Again, all of those were done based on those two content types. Again, with the list, with the grid, this is a list type. This is just a content item. I just went this one, and that one in here. This one here is actually following a list. And then I'm sorting by anger level from the most angry to the least angry. And I do not have a paging. And it's showing, when you say no paging, it shows everything. And again, this one here is a list and detail. So what happened if I go here and say, okay, Monica's more details, I have to scroll down back again. It just showed me the detail of that on the same page. So this have this kind of like reloads the page. So I would just use this if you have content on the top of the page, because obviously it's not really visible if you don't do that. And you see that in here, it kind of added / Monica, which is this character slug. So if I go back and I go Matilda, it will be Matilda, and the Matilda that is showing down there. What else we have here? We have a carousel, pretty much. And this, the way I did this one here is like this. If I have a background image set, show my background image. If I don't have a background set, like Petunia doesn't have a background set, show the be happy, smile, welcome, Angry Birds image. So everybody that does not have a background image set to it, it will display this image. What else? Okay, collapse. That was, I already showed you this ones.
Alessandra,
exactly like the first
very
one.
discreetly, very subtle. I mean, if you look at my video, very subtle note for you.
10 minutes. Okay, I got it. Actually, I had just looking and thinking, how is the time? Okay, and then the last one, we have the tab that we already know and love. And that's pretty much it. What I have again here on the side was just like a little things of the caveats that we have. And since we have 10 minutes, we can show is like this. When you have a list without page and a list with paging, and you go to page 2, you see that it will actually add here, page 2. But the thing is, this one here does not have a page 2. It would just kind of like hide. So you should not have 2 lists with paging on the same page. And then the other one was a list and detail for the same reason. If I go here like, oh, more details, it will, if you have any other list detail, whatever you click in one, it will show all the others, because it will be filtering by Petunia. So see, everything shows nicely here. So if I go here and choose Monica that you don't have on the other ones, I broke the site. No, it's because Monica don't have available on this list and not, neither on this list. So that's what happened. Okay, that's it. Ta-da! I mean, TADUG.
TADUG, yeah, that's the idea of TADUG.
All right then. Okay, so I can stop sharing now.
Well, you're
I have to look close because I am using the glasses. There you go.
Thank you so much, Alessandra. Anything that you want? I mean, any last note about liquid content in particular and structured content in general? Anything else?
I think it's like this. It's upfront for the developer. I have to say it is more work. Because one thing is for you to just go, okay, I did this, flap is done. But having to create a form that have to do this and having to do that, sometimes it's a case of, is this worth the work? That's why I call, if it's a repeated content or if it's something that's too complex, like a slider. Sometimes you have title of this, title of that, because then you can have some options and such like this. So sometimes for a footer, perhaps I would not waste my time doing this because, come on, it's very simple. There's not much to be that you have to change in here. But when it's something that's going to be like, yeah, they're going to use it in more than one place, my opinion is already worth doing.
Awesome. Alessandra, again, thanks so much for
Thank you.
doing a great job explaining, talking about, and we don't get tired of listening to structured content because it's so useful. And again, there are so many tools that can be used, like liquid content,
and they're getting more and more developed. So it's like, so cool.
Yeah, like the one from Indeep and from Indeeps and that two-sex content and again other open content. We have plenty of options in the DNN ecosystem to handle it. So again, thank you very much for your very, very informative and entertaining, Angry Birds metaphor usage.
Any similarities a mere coincidence. Let's not get sued by Pixar or whoever did the thing.
I hope that you have the rights to be showing them.
What? I couldn't hear that. It broke. I'm in a channel.
Very good to have you here, Alessandra. We're just gonna wrap things up.
Okay.
I've asked my questions. I don't know if Gifford and Steve, I mean, if you guys have any questions there, but I guess not because you haven't mentioned anything.
They fell asleep. Oh my God.
That's okay. No, don't worry about that. I'm very awake. I'm more awake than I'm awake. Awaker. I'm awake for everybody.
Okay.
Anyway, so just want to mention that this is the last meetup for the season. So TADUG is taking a summer break, and most likely by September, October, someone will get back. Most likely not myself. So it was great to be able to hopefully revamp TADUG. Whether TADUG will continue as TADUG or some other more Canada-wide terminology, it's up to be seen. But there is a small committee getting put together to carry on with TADUG or any other naming that it may turn out to become. And the group, they were mentioning to me that they want the summer break, and then by September, October, they will regroup and they will see how it can be carried on. So again, this one is the last one that I organize after 16 meetings. So it has been a good run, and I'm glad that we have come this far. So again, hopefully you're gonna hear from the new organizing team by September, October. Thanks so much. Thank you, Steve, for being around. Gifford for being around as well, and of course Alessandra for being my last guest.
Oh, stop it too.
Thank you so much. And again, have a great summer, everyone. The recording will be live in a few days. Cheers. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.